Wilbur Wilson, that's the name. Christian. Fractional CMO, that's the job. Quite an unknown term, so I will explain it. Basically, someone who writes radio ads. I state whether a Christian or not, first simply because I believe it has a significant amount more significance. Of course, am not this man Wilbur. I'm just a humble narrator, narrating this sweet and short film. And I'm trying to have this British accent because simply it seems more suitable. Now on with the story of Wilbur Wilson. He wears on his back a boiler room jacket, of which he is very fond of. As I said before, he's a fractional CMO, which is his actual real-life job, and not just a decision made for the sake of storytelling. At the time being, Wilbur is on a business trip to record sounds of machinery and various videos and trucks. He stays at an Airbnb, a lovely house to rent for a few days whilst traveling. Which explains why it's so tidy and clean, unlike his house back home. There is, however, one peculiar thing about this trip. These pot of flowers on the table that is being shown in the video at this very moment changes to a different plant every single day. Of course, Wilbur does not know this, for this is his first day here. Wilbur will now grab his camera, which he's ever so proud of, and go off to work. As you can see, various clips of Wilbur's workday are being shown now as extra proof that this is his actual real job. It is now the next morning, and the exact moment that Wilbur is realizing the odd trait of the plant on the table. He is very quite confused about this, and he has been thinking all day at work about it. When he finally arrived at home after that ever so long day at work, he began executing the solution that any respectable recording guy would think of, and that solution is to record it. Of course, he did not want to leave the kitchen light on for the entirety of the night because that would shine into his bedroom and annoy him for the entirety of the night. When he awakened so elegantly and excitedly in the morning, he was greatly displeased when he discovered his mistake. He had forgotten to press the record button. He was mad at himself for this mistake. In fact, he was mad at everything, including me, the narrator. I mean, isn't that against the rules? You can't interact with the narrator, especially not get angry with him. I apologize. I began to lose my humble Britishness. Why, now, of course, Wilbur tries the same tactic again the next night. And the one after that. And finally, a final night. And that is because he has failed every night in a different way. He had forgotten to leave the light on. Take the lens cover off. And even put the plant there at all. These were unusual mistakes for Wilbur, for these were stupid and sloppy mistakes that a professional should not be making. So much so that he was wondering whether he was making them, or if a greater force was holding him back. Don't look at me, Wilbur. I'm not part of this story. I'm only telling it. I said, look away from the camera now. He checked everything dozens of times to be positive that it would absolutely 100% work. And a couple more dozen times. To his great surprise, it did work. He was overjoyed by this. Oh, wow, that's a bit over the top, don't you think, lad? He had set up at the desk to find the moment of magic. But that's when he realized 8 hours of footage is a whole lot to look over. So he gave up and tried to think of a different tactic. Oh, I know it's a dumb and cheap twist, but that's why I did it, to annoy you. Ha! Mission accomplished. Anyway, he did think of his other tactic while sitting on the couch. Of course. How had he not thought of this before? Wait, I spelled of in the previous sentence as O-V. That would have been embarrassing. Oh wait, I'm narrating. Would have never seen that. Ignore me. The answer that he had thought of was to check the Bible for an answer. Of course, after all, being a Christian in a significant amount more significant than whatever your job is, why had he gone for the work-related answer first? How simply stupid of him. He got to the work of searching this marvelous book the instant that he got the idea. He had found it quite quickly, actually. For such a random topic, a single afternoon is impressive. There it was. On page 1579 was the answer to this wondrous mystery. Revelation 22:2. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves on the tree are for the healing of the nations. Wilbur pondered this for a while. This certainly must be what it is talking about. This plant must have come from a seed of the tree somehow, or something of the sorts. Though I have not seen any fruit from this plant, perhaps it is simply too young. Most unfortunate. Luckily, the next morning, the day he was set to leave, that plant had become one of bearing fruit. A single fruit at that. But it was enough to give the taste of heaven. And Wilbur had tasted that taste of heaven. He enjoyed it greatly. It was definitely better than cereal.
Wait, I just realized. You haven't heard Wilbur speak a single word in this entire very short film.
Well, maybe he isn't so very short anymore. I don't really know. I'm just in the writing stage. But would you like to say something, Wilbur?
Hi, I'm Wilbur Wilson.
Thank you, Wilbur, which is not his actual real-life name, and is just a decision made for the sake of storytelling.